I never ever could have imagined, just probably 7 months ago or so when we were recording the first episode that I'd be back sitting here with this grief again. But honestly, I can't think of a more amazing host to hold space for me as I really dive into it for the first time, because unfortunately, I know layered grief, and when the unthinkable hits you for the second time, when you think you've already earned your stripes and maybe life
Life's
will
like
be kind to you.
Welcome to the Life with Grief podcast. I'm your host, grief and soul purpose coach and fellow griever, Tara Accardo. Kate, welcome to the Life with Grief podcast. This is kind of a first for me, and we were talking about this before we kind of officially started recording. But I have actually recorded with you before, a little bit earlier this year. We talked about your beautiful sister, which I would love for you to shed some light on again. But you have since then been through an incredibly profound loss. And offline, as we were talking, determined that it would actually be best to re record. And I just want to be so vulnerable and honest with everyone here listening. But I was so grateful to you for being so willing to be like, yeah, let's acknowledge that. Let's talk about that, because I think this is a perfect example of how grief shows up in our lives and how we can, go through something devastating, but then here we are, grief shows up at our door once again. And we just wanted to make sure that when we were having this conversation, it was relevant and we were talking to you sort of literally, truly in the state that you are in now. And we wanted that to be really authentic. So I just want to thank you too for basically sharing your story twice and now also being once again so vulnerable to share everything that has happened since then. I mean, yeah, it's been a lot. I've been watching everything that you've been through. I'm trying not to like give anything away. I want to hand it off to you. But
Oh,
I
yeah,
I just
no.
want to thank you once again for coming on and, just again for listeners here, like just to normalize this, right? Like
Yeah.
here we are. Wow, here grappling with it, moving through life with it. How do we do that? All the things. But just
Yes.
a big welcome to you first and foremost. I'm excited
Oh,
to
thank
have
you
you
so
back.
much. And we've got to mention to everyone, I am an Australian, so I'm going to call you
That's
Tara
fine.
rather. So,
I will happily
so we'll just
respond to
get.
that. It's adorable.
And I've been working with at one of my events I was speaking at this week. She was Kara to
Oh
me, but I think
gosh.
it's Kara.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're just just our A's in Australia. We make them sound like R's and all
Love
kinds of
it.
things. But anyway, so thank you. Thank you so much in return for having me back on. I know how many guests want to come on their show, on your show, and share their story. So the fact I get a second chance, I very much appreciate. And honestly, I wish I
I
didn't
wish you
have
didn't
to.
have this, quite frankly. I wish we didn't do this again. But again, I just want to
I
acknowledge you
know.
because the fact that you could have just as easily been like, just launch that. I want to be done with I can't relive this. I can't do this again. Whatever, like you could have just as easily done that. So it just speaks volumes about you and your resilience through all of this to want to share this and share so openly. So yeah, thank you.
No, I'm honored to be back in a strange way. Like we
Yeah.
said, I never ever could have imagined, just probably 7 months ago or so when we were recording the first episode that I'd be back sitting here with this grief again. But honestly, I can't think of a more amazing host to hold space for me as I really dive into it for the first time, because unfortunately, I know layered grief, and when the unthinkable hits you for the second time, when you think you've already earned your stripes and maybe life
Life's
will
like
be kind to you.
it's just like, yeah, no. Okay.
Ex- Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thanks for having me back. Where would you like me to start?
Yeah, let's again, I don't want to like give away your story, but people will know from the title of this episode. Let's start with your sister, because I know that is, grief that was a little, I'm going to say this relatively speaking, further away now, in
Hmm.
terms of, and I
Yeah.
think actually that's going to be such an interesting part of this conversation, right? You've already been through a very devastating loss, but here you are having now gone through another new one. And like, how was that showing up differently? It's a very, much different person too. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of complexities there, but Yeah, just let's start with your beautiful sister.
My big
Yeah.
sister Knickers. So she's actually just above
Oh,
me
I
right
see
there.
that for anyone watching. Yeah.
On my yeah, on my shoulder, always watching over me. But yeah, so I've got to say, when I think back to the loss of my sister, I just think of how much up until that point we were just your typical normal family. I was going through university at the time, about to graduate, and then there was my sister. She was like larger than life in every way. You'd always hear her before you could see her. She was a dancer. She could never keep her still. She was studying journalism, just like working her butt off, and she'd always be like, life's too short not to follow your passions and live out loud and everything. So she was always just this big, beautiful character in my life who I looked up to in every single way. And we'd shared a room together up until I was like 14. She used to sneak into my bed at night even when she was like 21 years old because she was scared of the dark. And she used to be like, crawl into my bed and be like, "Can I sleep
Oh,
with
you
you
guys
tonight?
are
I'm
so
scared."
cute.
But, but she was just like this quirky, fun, beautiful, kind-hearted, brave soul that had just always been there for me. She was 4 years older than me, but a lot of people would mistake us for twins just because we would share clothes and all of the things. So I'm sure a lot of people listening are also fortunate enough to have an awesome brother or sister like that is just your ride or die. And that was definitely my sister. And until like one night, it was a few months. I had like 3 assignments left or something before I was about to graduate uni. But it's when I think that's relevant because for anyone else out there, like that's a big transition in your
Yes.
life, and you're trying to get your head around. Okay, this is what the next chapter is going to look like. I'd gotten a corporate job, and I'm going to follow the yellow brick road of the corporate world and just wear high heels and a pencil
Yeah,
skirt.
the
That's all
blazer.
I
Yeah,
was.
be boss,
Girl boss my
total
way
boss
through it.
lady.
Yeah. But like it was just like that was what was top of mind for me. And then it was the 20th of October 2012, and it's so strange that I woke to this because normally like my phone was on do not disturb or whatever, but I can still remember that like vibration of like zzz, zzz.
Yeah, it's visceral.
And yeah, like those
Mhm.
moments and it's like your psyche, like at the time, I don't know, there's something about how it captures it, knowing it's about to be
Yeah.
a life-changing moment. Um, so I picked it up because I was going to ignore it, but I'd kind of stirred and I looked and it was 3:37 a.m. So I was thinking, at first you want to think like, oh, it's just a friend doing a prank or something. I was at that age. I was only 20. So,
Yeah.
we were
Could've been
still
on
doing
brand.
dumb things like that. Yeah. But then underneath the time, it said "mum" on the phone, and I'm like, "Oh God!" Like your mum doesn't call
Call
you
you
just to
in the
say hello
night.
at
Yeah.
37 in the morning. So I answered it, and immediately she's like, "Your sister has been in a serious motorbike accident." So, for context, my beautiful sister Nicole had just gone away to Thailand with her boyfriend at the time, Jamie. And I remember her posting up on Facebook what a beautiful time they were having. And I was so jealous. Um, and what happened was they had jumped on a bike. They'd been down the road just a mile from their hotel, jumped on like one of those moped bikes just to drive home. And unfortunately, my sister wasn't wearing a helmet. They didn't put their helmets on. And then as they were turning into the driveway of their hotel, a local rider came speeding up on the wrong side of the road and tries to cut them off, like, I don't know, on the opposite side of what you usually would. And so he slams into the back of the bike. Unfortunately, that was where Nicole was. So she took the full impact. And, at first I could tell my mum was trying to keep things calm, and I'm thinking my sister sometimes was kind of clumsy, so I'm like, oh, she's probably just like broken her leg or
Mm.
like bad but not life threatening. And then she just said she's being rushed into surgery with head injuries, and just pray to God she survives.
Just got
And
chilled.
those yeah those final words from mum were like, what just and it just like your world just like almost rock, like you literally just feel like rocked to the core of you. I was like, what do you mean pray to God she survives? So that morning I remember it was like, I don't know, 4 something by this point, and I went down to the beach and I watched the sunrise, and I really thought it was so beautiful, and I'm like, this is my sign. My sister's going to be okay. So I took a photo of the sunrise because I was like, I'll show Nicole this photo of like her new beginning, because I figured she'd probably have some significant injuries to recover from, but she's going to make it. And then it was when I decided I better get back to be with my parents, because they were going to race to Thailand to be at Nicole's side. And then I got in my car, and thank God Mum caught me before I started driving. But it's such a funny thing again, because Mum started calling me right before I started driving, and my brain was like, "Oh, she's probably calling just to tell me to get milk." Like, it's so weird.
Yeah, your
Your
brain is
brain,
like, "This is not gonna happen. This is
yeah,
not."
yeah,
Yes. Oh, this is probably so relatable for so many people. You're like, "This literally cannot be my
yeah,
reality." It's not gonna be my reality. Like, we're just
yeah,
our body, our brain,
yeah.
whatever is just like,
It just like, nah, it's just for
yeah,
milk. Like, I just remember that split second, and then of course I
I get
answered
it.
it, and honestly, my mom just screamed like,
Oh.
she just screamed, "She's dead."
Oh god.
Um, and I just remember falling out of the car and just screaming. And I think the hardest part was I just left my boyfriend's at the time, like his and his parents' house. So I had to physically get myself up off the side of the road to get to them because they were already gone inside. And it was just, just a blurring and falling into his dad's arm. And there's a full circle moment, actually, I'll explain of that if I remember. I'll probably forget.
I'm
But
gonna
it
try and
was,
remind you now because now I need to hear about this.
yeah. Um, but yeah, that was my first life shattering moment, and for our family to go from, just your everyday family to suddenly being the family in the news, and um having to deal with such a tragedy. And my parents did rush to Thailand to be with Nicole, because even though she'd passed away, we obviously wanted to bring her home. And the complications of bringing her body back home from overseas, and then dealing with the Thai police over there, which honestly had nothing but corruption in mind, and trying to, they took Jamie's passport, and then they were trying to say Nicole was driving. And then because we have video footage of the accident, thank goodness. I think that's the only reason why her partner didn't end up locked away for
Yeah.
God knows how long. But just my dad having to sit opposite the police and negotiate what had happened.
Insane. I remember from our
Yeah,
previous conversation, like, I think and for the purposes of this conversation, because we have a lot to cover, I know you I don't also wanna make you relive all of that, but I do remember you walking through this a little bit and just how horrible it was for all of you and how just drawn out it was and legally and all the things. And you had also mentioned, I think, and I can't remember like exact stats about this, but like how many Americans, Australians who like end
yeah,
up on motorbike accidents out there. Like
yeah,
it's not,
yeah. Well, yeah. So that's part of like how I discovered all that, is because, yeah, we were dealing with so much
yeah,
injustice, and it was really like so hard to not become bitter. Like, it was awful how they treated our family who had just lost a loved one, as if, yeah, she's just a number on a piece of paper or whatever. And so, as we were like trying to think of like, how do we just not shut down
right.
completely? I've always loved the quote that, resilience isn't about fighting the old, but building the new. And so we realized there's not much we can do to change Thailand and the authorities there. And nothing against, like, Thailand's a beautiful place. The people, most of them are beautiful.
Mhm.
It's just certain people in
Some
certain
are not.
authority positions,
Yeah,
yeah, will take advantage of distressed tourists. And that was definitely our experience.
right.
And so um, I just remember one day, like, going, how many other poor families are living through this?
Yeah.
So I just started researching into tourist accidents in Thailand. And that's when I was discovering alarming statistics, like an Australian tourist was dying in Thailand every two
That was
days.
it. Yeah. It's like,
Yeah, yeah. And Thai roads are the second deadliest roads in the world,
right.
and you're 6.5 times more likely to die in a road crash, like over in Thailand, than like back
Jeez.
in Australia. So it's like promoted as a fun thing, and you even see it like people.
Yeah.
And America's equivalent, I guess, is like Mexico or
Yeah.
something. But it's you go and you think nothing bad happens on holidays or a vacation. I'm just going to let my hair down. The locals are doing it. But I know, had my sister known that statistic, there's no way she would have gotten on that bike,
Yeah.
especially
The
without a
helmet.
helmet.
Yeah.
And so
Ugh.
I was sitting there and I'm like, this is where like we have voices for a reason. And I want to, if I can just even save one young
Yeah.
life from making a different choice before they start exploring the world, at least then my sister's death wasn't in vain.
Mhm.
So I quit that corporate job, no longer got to wear my pencil skirts, but
You're like, "Off with them. I don't need
um,
these anyway."
yeah. But
Doing
yeah, I remember I gave the corporate job like 6 weeks, and I was like, nah, I came home every day just wanting to work on this presentation and put it out there. So I started with my little PowerPoint slides and Comic Sans font, not really knowing what I was doing.
This is bringing me
But
back. I love it.
but I had this passion and story, and I really believed in what I wanted to do, and thankfully I got a few schools that were willing to give me a chance. And then the feedback from students is, it really was helping shatter that sense of invincibility that can lead to reckless
Yes.
decisions, and also educating on the importance of things like travel insurance, which sounds boring, but can save, like, it would save my family over
No,
$50,000.
literally, I was just recording something for my husband and I's podcast today, our travel one, and someone mentioned that today. They're like, "Don't
Yeah.
underestimate that." Like, it's actually
Yeah.
quite important. I was like, "Oh, okay," 'cause truthfully, we don't do that. So
Yeah, and I've realized it's less, common in America. When I was
yes.
recording my audiobook for Okay, Now
Yeah.
What, um, I had a whole, like, part of a chapter on it, and the audiobook, I was like, "Holy shit, I've never, like, heard of that before even," and I was quoting some of the
Yeah.
statistics, and without giving too much away, I can tell you, second time now, our family knows unfortunately knows firsthand the value of travel insurance. But I guess to close the loop on everything from my sister's tragedy that we turned into a charity to carry her forward in a meaningful way, because that's who my sister was. She was resilient, and I know she wouldn't want us not living anymore. So we just decided to live in her honor. So I took over the travel safety promotion and getting it out to schools, and working together now with the Australian government. So there's still a movie that Australian students watch now back in Australia that I
It's
co-created with
amazing.
Smart Traveller. And yeah, it's so awesome to see that message continue to live on, outside of me being able to go around and do all of that now. But the other arm of the foundation was we've raised over $300,000
Mhm.
in grants, for underprivileged, like, performers and athletes, because as my sister was a dancer, she went to a performing arts school. She had so many talented friends and would see so many of them be held back because of financial struggles. And she's like, it's so unfair. Like, fortunately, my mum and dad could afford to get my sister to the next competition or whatever, but her friends would be held back. And so my beautiful mum really took that part of things under her wing and worked so hard, in helping so many people, from those in like the Special Olympics, or just like orphaned kids, or those whose homes have flooded in awful floods, and just like giving them the opportunity to keep dancing or get to that next competition. And she even went and volunteered at an orphanage over in Kenya for a few weeks, and funded ballet classes because the kids had never experienced ballet before. But my sister was a ballerina,
Yeah.
and then she had like hundreds of tons of dance gear that she brought over with her, and
Wow.
it was just like an
What a
amazing
gift.
thing to see my mum. Yeah, just she was shattered, obviously, and never the same
Of
again
course.
from the loss of a daughter.
Okay.
But she went from being like, I'd never be strong enough to get up and speak or do anything, to just really
Killing it.
growing into, yeah, what I call like the heartbeat of Nicole's foundation really was my beautiful mum.
Yeah. Oh my god, Kate, so inspiring. Oh my gosh, and I'm so glad. I don't know that we got into we definitely got into sort of like, all of this work that you have now done like after her passing last time, but like there's so much that you have built and given back and provided, and like what a beautiful example of truly living in someone's honor. And even if we don't all, create grants and do all these things,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just to show that inspiration that that can happen and that that is there, and that in our
Mhm.
own way, we can find our ways to talk about them and honor them when we're ready, and,
Yeah.
like, just finding what outlets work for us, and, and still feel
Yeah. And I think in the smallest ways we can continue to honor loved ones. Like, even if it's just a funny little saying, like when someone says something, like I still have little like things that come out of my mouth when Nate said, I'm like, oh, my sister
Yeah.
always used to say that. Like it's those little things, or maybe it's like a certain just being extra kind to some, like going out of your way, knowing like, no, this is who my mum taught me to be, or my
Yes.
grandma, like whoever it is, like I know in that moment that would have been the choice they
Yeah.
made. And through making it, like I'm honoring and keeping that what they taught me
Like
alive. And
embodying them
to,
and
yeah. And so it's like so many ways. Like I definitely definitely know creating a whole foundation and stuff, it takes a lot. But fortunately, we just had that ability to come together and make it happen. And I was 20 years old, so I quit my job. I volunteered for the first few years. My friends are earning all the big money to go to trips on Europe, and I'm just racing around Australia not earning anything, but my paycheck was my
yeah.
purpose. And that's what I needed, more than anything. After losing someone, we don't want to try and feel positive about
You're
that.
right.
We need
Right.
to find a way to create some purpose in it. And that's
Channel
maybe his
it
message of,
into something.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not finding the good. I think that's such a passive, like just sit back and I'm like, I don't want to find good in someone I love suffering or dying, but how can you create it? It's leaning into lessons, but also problems. So much of
Yeah.
my purpose came from identifying the problems surrounding my sister's death with the lack of awareness, the lack of education. Okay, I'm going to be the good thing that happens
Mm.
to that situation and that problem and circumstance. And every one of us has the power to make that choice when we're ready.
Yes, that's so empowering. Again, way to like take that power back and not let
Hmm.
the circumstances of how she died or anything like that like succumb you and get the best because you so easily could. You could and I'm sure
Yeah.
there's some anger there still, but like you could
Yeah.
totally sit there and hold on to that and fester in that and dwell in it and let it change your life for the worse by focusing
Hmm.
on that. Yet you're
Yeah.
rising above that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That being said, I want to shift to the second loss that you have more recently endured. And yeah, just kind of let you tell that story. And honestly, when I heard about what happened and the manner in which it happened, I was like, there is no way that this is happening to this poor girl and her family again. But here you are, but you again are so inspiring and fighting the good fight around all of this. So let me pass it off to you to again, tell that story and just what your grief looks like now and how you are, you know, moving through this, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, my gosh. Okay. Here we go.
You're like,
Buckle up,
beautiful.
ladies and gents. Okay. Yeah, so earlier this year, I honestly I felt like finally we were all really just starting to find peace again as a family. Like my husband and I just moved on to like our dream property by the mountains, and I like my speaking career was starting to take off. I just released my book, and then more than anything, mom and dad had like just seemed happier again. They were traveling. Like it was just like, oh, finally, it's been 12 years now, and like feel like our family has just integrated Nicole into our lives in such a way that we're able to like just like
Settle,
I don't know,
just
just yeah, it was just like, oh.
exhale.
So there was this joy and gratitude and everything, and the best part was my mum and my dad were coming to visit Nate and I here in Wyoming where we live. We live in Sheridan, Wyoming now, and they just done a beautiful cruise through Alaska,
Oh,
and they flew in
perfect.
to visit us. And I was so proud. I was showing them our new place, and we would just hanging outside. It was in May, so the weather was just becoming warm again.
Mm.
And yeah, it happiest memories. But during one of the weeks, so it was a couple of days after Memorial Day, it was the 28th of May. I had a meeting downtown. It was a Boss Babes meeting for all the for local women business owners.
Perfect.
And I know Tara, it's one of those things where I nearly didn't go. Like
Mm.
I was so close to canceling
Mhm.
going because I was busy. I had some keynotes the next week, and I'm like, oh, I don't have time for this. But mum's always taught me show up for your friends, be a part of the community. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go into town, and mum's like, oh, I'll come with you. I'm kind of a bit bored. I'll just go grab something to eat. So I was like, okay. And we're driving through Main Street, and I'm like, oh, mum, I'll drop you off here. She's like, no, it's fine. You go to where you got to go, and I'll just walk in. She's like, I want to do some walking. So I was like, okay. So I pulled up and my dog was in the car and she's like, oh, I'll let JQ out. I'll come back early and let your dog out. So I was showing her how to use the harness and put it on. And I was like, okay, I'll see you back at 1. I've got coaching again at 1:45. And okay, off I ran. Love you, Mum. Bye. And I was in the meeting and then I looked down. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 1:09. I'm running late. So love you girls. I have to run back to Mum. And I ran out of the house, turned around the corner, fully expecting Mum and JQ to be standing by the car, and she wasn't. And immediately I'm like, it's 1:09, my mum's not here, and she's never late. Like, she was always punctual. So it just instantly something felt off, but it's like, oh, she might have lost track of time. So I call her phone, no answer, call again, no answer. And you just like start to get that like
feeling.
Something's not right. And so I was like, maybe she's down the corner with Jaku. And then I remember the moment my dog's head popped up in the car and I'm like, she never made it back to the car. At this point, she had the car keys so I was like, oh God, my dog's in the car. Where's my mom? I can't get to him. So I called my dad and I'm like, oh, Mum's probably left her phone at home. Again, your brain's trying to like rationalize. And he's like, no, her phone's not here. Okay. I'm like, okay. By this point, I think maybe she's tripped over, scraped her leg. I'm picturing this lovely local person like taking care of her. I was like, something might have happened, but like, okay, so I've got to go find my mum. She's not contactable by phone. I walked back up the street and I turned the other way and I just looked up and I just saw the road was closed. The lights were flashing. There were emergency vehicles, just like chaos everywhere. And my mind just screamed like,
absolutely not. Like this can't
be happening again. And I just started shaking in the corner and my friend who was in the meeting had walked out at that time. Thank God, she was such an angel for me in that moment. But she's like, what's wrong? And I just said, it's my mum. And she was, I can't see any, like, I said, I think that's my mum. That's the way she would have walked. And so she just took me by the hand and walked me up to the police and got their attention and said, yes, it was a woman's been hit. I said, oh God. And then he came over with her handbag. So I knew it was my mum. But still it's like, oh, she's just broken her hip. Like again, my brain went back to trying to rationalize. And then he's like, she's unresponsive. And I just dropped to my knees. And as I fell, I saw the driver who'd hit and killed my mum just sitting there. And I just remember thinking like, what have you done to my mum? But then, thankfully, like my friend just picked me up and threw me into the car. But again, like my poor dad, like I had to call him again and go, Dad, Mum's been hit. Like he's already lived this with a daughter and now his wife, and called my husband. But again, I'm still like rationalizing like this is like, no. And when we get to the emergency room, and immediately they put me into a consult room, I'm like, oh shit, it's not good when they, usher you off somewhere private. And then my dad and my husband weren't even there yet. I'm thankfully with this friend I'm now very bonded with for what she held space for. Oh my God. But the surgeon just came racing in and I'm like, please wait for my family to get here. But he just kept talking and he just grabbed the back of his head and he's just like, the injuries were too severe. We did this and that and this and that, but she just she didn't make it. And I just like screamed no at him. It's just like, my sister died. Like the back of the head injury is the exact way my sister was killed while traveling with a head injury due to a careless driver.
Negligence is putting it mildly, but yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is when the full out of body experience started again. Like you're just like, someone pinch me. I still think that basically every day now. It's nearly 6 months out now. About in 10 days, it'll be 6 months since she was killed. But on top of that, it's layered with injustice all over again. With the driver who killed her, we found out he has a 5-page, criminal record. with everything from, like, he was actually on probation for domestic battery and evading police. At the time he killed mum, only 5 weeks earlier, they let him off on probation yet again. But only like 15 months before he killed mum, he had a DUI crash. Like, he crashed his car because he was driving under the influence.
This is
And yeah, but there's just so like there's domestic abuse and shoplifting and registered sex offender and all like the awful, like one of biggest low
and
lives
this
you can
man
have in a
is not
community.
in jail. Okay, well, I don't know what this says about our justice system. That's a whole conversation for another day, I guess. But,
I know.
oh my god, and I'm sorry, was he under the influence when he hit your mom, or he was not? Or he was not?
No, so he wasn't. And that's the thing that's kind of like, I understand we definitely want to deter DUI. And he's already done that once. But the thing is, like, because he wasn't under the influence, so basically when like the police took us in and now we have like a full understanding of what happened, but we have video footage once again, very
Yeah.
grainy. I haven't seen it, don't want to, might have to with court trial and everything. But mum pushes the button and waits, and they see her wait. She doesn't get the walk signal, so she pushes it again. She gets the walk signal, she walks out, and then he flies around the corner and hits her, claiming he didn't see her. When you're at a crosswalk, you're
I
always
call
meant to look
bullshit, yeah.
for pedestrian. But they've synced the lights. They can prove that she had the walk signal at the time, so she was doing absolutely
Everything right.
everything right. My mum was so cautious. She'd already lost her daughter on roads
Yeah.
overseas. The last thing she'd do is try and like sprint out on
I'm gonna
someone.
do that, yeah.
Yet despite his record on the road, killing someone in broad daylight and who was completely innocent, it's only a misdemeanor.
What?
It's only a maximum of 12 months in jail that he can get. So
For those who are not seeing this, my mouth is agape. I don't even that's not manslaughter?
yeah.
That's not involuntary manslaughter? I mean,
Well, it's called vehicular homicide, and every state has individual, like, I guess, sentences around it. But in Wyoming, it's still considered just a misdemeanor. Well, if he had had any substance
that
in
might be
him, it would be a
manslaughter.
felony of up to 20 years. But I'm like, well, if someone still manages to kill someone while they're sober minded, that doesn't, like, if anything, you should be making
Better
better
decisions, you would not
choices
to
and
defend
actions.
that,
Yeah.
but, like,
Yeah, but the
okay,
consequence for
oh
a
my
family is
god.
just as devastating. So that's why I'm advocating with Wyoming politicians. I've met with particularly Representative Tom Kelly here in Wyoming, who looked at this guy's record as just as appalled. And I'm going to be given a chance to try and change the law where for vehicular homicide, if a driver is charged with that and already has a serious previous driving conviction, such as a DUI, it can become a felony and they can actually serve some sort of time. I mean, I know nothing's going to bring my mum back. We're not, like, so many people are like, oh, no matter how much
Justice is
time it
justice,
is.
who care like, just give
Yeah.
me something.
Yeah, give me something that reflects the worth of my mum's life and the
Yeah,
devastation that he's caused, and actually has some real consequences for his life, and doesn't just let him out back on the streets
that's
in maximum
terrifying.
12 months. Yeah, thinking he can get, and then he had the audacity to ask and lower the charge because it's been distressing for him, and I'm like, distressing
Oh,
for
I'm
you?
sorry, is this an inconvenience to your life? Oh
Oh
my
yeah,
god, I'm seeing
it's
red right now.
yeah, but I mean, the law change for me would be the greatest way I feel like we could honor mum, because she was always doing good for others. And it doesn't change, like, even if I change the law, it's not like they can retrospectively go back
Sure,
and change
but
his sentence. But another family
it's
doesn't have to sit there after, like, I still have nightmares of just mum's blood like just splattered across the road. I can't, like, the trauma now, like, because my sister, I was so removed from it. This happened in my new
yes,
hometown,
I was just
a place I have to drive, like, and see. I still, like, so now it's like not just grief, but there's PTSD
thinking,
involved for me. So I'm seeing a therapist and
yeah.
working through it, but it broke my heart in the middle of, like, my paradise that we'd worked so hard to
Yes.
create. And so um if I can do something meaningful for future families and in mum's name, like, that's to me the greatest justice that we can really kind of get. in all of this. And we also set up a legacy fund at Sheridan College. It's a local college here. So it's the Julie Fitzsimons Legacy Fund. And it mirrors what we do with the foundation. So
Oh, you're
since mum
so
died, we've now
amazing.
the Nicole and
Oh,
Julie Fitzsimons Foundation. So mum's name has been added, mother and daughter side by side. Yeah. So we're carrying that forward with as much courage and pain and passion, it's all
yeah.
mixed in together. But at the Sheridan College, we're going to give a scholarship to a performing arts or athlete like at the college who is again financially struggling, very dedicated, just needs that extra support. So that was really beautiful to see a lot of the community donate to that fund, and it's an endowment, so it'll just keep going year upon year. And then the city of Sheridan's also reached out, and next May they want to do a pedestrian awareness month in honor of mum,
Oh,
and just to bring it, because there's been lots of close misses, like accidents that have nearly like a lot of people say, oh, around here because it gets so cold in the winter. And then, so not many people are out and about.
mhm.
And then the warmer weather comes and there's more pedestrians. People are forgetting, like, hey, people are out and about again now. You need to look twice. When you get a
Yeah.
green light, they also get the walk signal, and pedestrians always
And
have
that
right of way. And I
right-hand
think,
corner. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Like you need to remember green doesn't mean go, it means look
Yes.
and then go. Yeah. So just having those conversations to hopefully save another life, because unfortunately there was another elderly gentleman who was also killed
Oh,
about a couple of months after mum, and they hadn't had any in God years. I really believe mum would be one of the
wow.
first because she was killed on Main Street. And so just trying to, yeah, it's like I'm not going to force myself to find positives in this. And I really hope anyone else grieving, please don't succumb to that pressure to look on the bright side. I really don't believe that there is always a bright side in life, but I do believe in our ability to
Take
create
action
some
and
sort of,
yeah,
yeah, and do something meaningful. Because I feel like as long as we have purpose, we find some sort of strength, even though we're struggling, to keep getting our feet on the ground, to keep facing the day, and to hold space for it all. Like I I was sitting in the car this morning and I was just crying because the drives downtown are still quite
don't know
hard
how you're
for me.
doing
I
it. Oh,
I hear like mum's little comments each place that we
she's talking
that
to
we
you.
went. Yeah. Like, oh, we're gonna go for lunch here, and oh, what do you want for dinner? Oh, look, there's horses in the stables there. Like, she was such a vocal driver. She loved like commentating on like she was excited to be
So
there, and it was
cute.
all new and novel for
Oh
her.
my gosh.
Um, but I just sat in the car this one. I just couldn't stop crying. I also was listening to Lewis Capaldi's like "The Day I Die" song, so it was probably not.
Probably not
It's
doing you
like
any
this,
favors,
yeah.
but
But there was this beautiful line in it because I'd woke up this morning. So my last photo with my mum, you probably can't see in the
yeah,
background, was under a rainbow,
yeah,
which is such a beautiful symbol. Now, again, I always encourage people, choose your sign, choose your thing that is going to connect you to your loved one.
yeah.
Um, and then just look for it everywhere and let people say it's a coincidence or whatever. No one knows
Mm.
whether it is or isn't. So you get to choose
Yeah.
like whether it's your sign or not. And I always say find the signs that bring you peace and strength. So there was a beautiful double rainbow over our house this morning. So must have been mum and Nicole cheering me on for this interview.
I love
Um,
that. Oh my god, can I
but
say,
then I
rainbows also remind me of my mom because I was pulled over on the side of the road taking a photo of a rainbow when I got the call that my mom was, like, kind of declining, and then she passed, like, later that in the
oh
middle of the night that morning, and I kid you not, Kate, it's crazy you bring up rainbows because I was driving actually the same route on my way home. It had been, like, kind of raining and the sun was peeking out. I saw 3 rainbows, 3 separate rainbows on my way
God.
home. I was like,
She was showing off
"Stop
that
it,
day.
mom. Okay, you are here." Like, because 'cause I'm approaching her death anniversary next month as well. So it's like, but but the coins and butterflies, things like that, and I love
Yeah.
that. It's just like,
Whatever.
stay in your lane, do whatever you need to do, cling to whatever you need to find just, like, a
Yeah.
little semblance of comfort, like
And I think it's like, and let people know what they are, because I have people
yeah.
send me rainbows all the time
Yes.
now. Or like, even how I knew about the rainbow today is my friend saw it and was like, "You need to get
God of
outside, like, your
you.
mum's
How
here."
sweet.
And so I think it's like you've gotta just put it out there, and
Yes,
then there'd be people that think you're crazy and let them. But, like, the other lot that, like, really I don't know, I don't believe energy ever dies.
I
I don't have a
agree.
certain religion, and I'm not, like, about to try and get you to convert to any faith or anything, but I really believe, like, it's just learning how to love them
Yeah.
in a whole new way, and it's heartbreaking, and like I said, I got to yoga today, and I was sitting in my car. I couldn't stop
Mhm.
crying, but I was like, "I'm gonna take myself through those doors," because I knew, like, it's hot yoga. I was just gonna
Just release.
relax, and people can't tell if you're crying or sweating in that class anyway. So, but it was just so I just walked in, and then my teacher's like, "Thanks for coming," and she went up and she just gave me a hug, and I just, cried into her shoulder, and I just said, I really needed
Mm.
that." And I think for me, and I know you've lost a mom, that's what I'm missing
Yeah.
so much now, is that
Mhm.
nurturing, like, and so, like, even I have a massage therapist, and I'd had a hard morning, and the other day I did the same thing. I walked in, I'm like, "Can you give me a hug?"
Oh,
She's
that
just
human
like,
connection,
and
we need it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and so I think it's like, as I have my, second rodeo at, grief, but also traumatic
Yes.
grief and sudden grief and all the
Legal things
thing,
and as if
yeah, and
as if it's not complicated enough, add that onto it and just how that can probably prolong some of the grief and complicate it and just I would imagine again, anger would come up
yeah.
during that, and that's a whole it's like, "Oh, can I catch a break?"
And that's what's interesting. Um, I've really this time I've stepped back and watched, like, people's discomfort a little at, um, my, like, anger.
Mhm.
It's like, they wanna, like, just let it go, they'd want you to move on or be happy, all those kind of thing, and
Rolling my eyes
or
very
someone's
loudly
like,
over here. Ugh.
yeah. Or someone's, like, thinking about like, "I just wanna remind you of the power of forgiveness," and I'm like,
Okay, thanks.
"Buddy," I was like, "I know about, like, this isn't my first time that family members been recklessly killed on the road.
Yeah.
Like, I know I will
Thank
get
you,
there,
let
but
me
at the
vent.
same time, less pressure on victims to have to be pushed to forgiveness, and more accountability
Yes.
for the perpetrators that are putting victims
Mhm.
through such pain.
Yeah.
Like, why aren't we coming? And that's what I'm fighting for,
I
more
know.
accountability. This isn't just about my family and our poor loss.
Yeah.
This guy is literally a danger to the community. I need
Really?
to stand up and fight for safety and some sort
Yeah.
of justice so he doesn't go do this to someone else. And so I think being vocal about that, some, like, because I am quite, bubbly
Mhm.
person, and they're like, "Oh, like, there's some feistiness," and I have to step into that and know anger isn't a bad thing. It's not a moral issue
Right.
to feel angry. It's how you channel it and what
Yes.
you do with it. I mean, my husband did buy me a boxing bag as
No
well, because
way.
I was like, I need to hit something
I'm
sometimes.
obsessed. That go to one of those, like, the crash rooms, that's not what they're called. Like, the thing
Oh yeah, the
before you
rage
break
room.
everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, my friend also invited me. I haven't got there yet, but God, that'll feel good. But it's anger is, it's allowed. I also know beneath anger is usually just like a whole lot of pain, and I
Yeah.
feel like I'm entitled. Like, anger does feel more powerful. Something like we need to go from that vulnerable, more like pain and devastation and ache and agony, and then
Mhm.
sometimes be like, no, you know what? I'm not going to sit here. I'm going to do something about this and fight for change. Um, so I think it's just how you channel your anger, and I'm doing my best to to do the things that I know we're often told in grief, and sometimes you don't feel like doing them, but I'm trying to remind myself, even on day, like, there's going to be days where you just gonna want to lay in bed that bit longer
Yeah.
and not do the things. But for me, moving my body,
Mhm.
going to a therapist and talking things through, um, getting out in nature, like looking up at the sky
Yeah.
more, those little things that don't take away the grief, but they do help you process it.
Yeah. Nervous
And
system regulation. Oh
yes,
my
yes,
god,
all
it's
of
and there
that.
so many of these things are free. Well, I mean, therapy is not free, but, like, getting out
Although
and
a lot of people are using ChatGPT now, so it could be.
so true. I mean, listen, you do what you gotta do, I guess, but no, it's so true. Okay, and I'm actually so glad you touched on those things because one of my last sort of follow-up things for you was, like, what has helped you cope? But I want to actually touch on your book in our last little few minutes that we have here. And I have a feeling some of these questions, well, first of all, you just answered some of that, and more might come out as you're talking about your book in terms of what has helped you. And I love the title of your book, Okay, Now What? Because literally the crux of this conversation, what do you do? Where do you even start? I have so many people, I've like had some even new clients and stuff recently where they're just like, okay, I'm still, there's parts of the grief I'm still struggling with, but also just what do I do with myself now? Where do I start? Who am I? What am I doing here? What does this all look like? Like, and it's very much that, like, okay, now what? So talk to me a little bit
Yeah.
about your book. And then again, I'm sure some of my other question here will sort of unfold as we talk about this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they are the big questions that I think you do need to lean into after a huge identity shift, and your sense of safety and everything you thought you knew is changed in the world when you lose a loved
Yeah.
one. So my book is really, it is exploring more of that. I think like what I wanted to write this book was for answering that question. Like, a lot of people say your response is your choice, so you
Mhm.
can't control what happens, but you can control how you respond. But often it really doesn't feel like that. It is easy
Yeah.
to start to spiral, and the knee-jerk reactions, and the four main kind of default reactions that we have is, blaming, shaming, resisting, and numbing out. I can't remember the fourth one
I
in
got
my
it
book.
right.
But anyway, distracting, I think I put. But it's and we need to move through those, I think, with grief. Like, I'm, as I said, like there's times where now I realize I'm probably leaning too hard on the blame part
Mhm.
because of what happened. But I sometimes,
Rightfully
like, that's
so.
something, a phase you've got to
Yeah.
work through. And I'm focused on it because I want to create, like, change that for a future family too. If there was nothing I could do, I know eventually I'd have to move on. But so it's like, how do we really take and find our power in our response, and creating what's next from that more purposeful
Mhm.
place. So it's exploring, just how to. Sorry, my puppy's having a go. I
I
think he's
love
bored.
it.
He was just
He's
like,
like, "Wrap it up,
"No."
mom."
Uh, but I think, like, okay, if I was to choose a chapter, obviously grief's a big theme
Mhm.
throughout because that was my biggest life altering, okay, now what moment, and now twice. I think exploring, like, if I was working with someone, like, now what, is doing some exploration around, like, your core values, and you get a chance now when everything's shattered around you. Like, you can never recreate like that same bars or that same you,
Mhm.
but you can begin to take these pieces. And I really feel like often our broken pieces aren't just debris, they're raw materials for change and creation. So it's
It's
like,
beautiful.
what is this experience like teaching? And some of it's going to be ugly,
Yeah.
uncomfortable stuff, and letting that be without trying to put a pretty bow on it.
Mhm.
um but then looking at, like, what can you bring to this and your values, and I hope more and more people feel empowered to share their stories, or to mentor someone, or to can, like, because I think that again helps you find some purpose in it. And I think people see us, on a platform or whatever, and it's like, no, maybe it's that colleague at work who, now suddenly has lost, and like leaning in and reaching out and being who you needed in those
Yes.
moments. Like, all those ways where you can start to find some meaning in it. But we also, as we said, like, we can try and do all the reframing stuff
Mhm.
in the world, but if we're not taking care of our nervous system and the basics, then our brain isn't going to be able to rationalize any of that in any way. But yeah, I kind of, that's where I'd start. I'd really look at, like, who do you how has this changed you, and actually answering those questions. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know who I want to be now. It's like, slow that
Well, you
down.
don't
Like,
have to.
really sit with the.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. That's the amazing empowering, like, turn that into a thing of empowerment almost. That's amazing.
Yeah.
What a what a
Yeah.
gift in a weird, twisted, horrible
Yeah.
way that we get almost however you wanna see it, a blank slate in a way, and kind of like, and
Mhm.
I kinda do this with my clients because I've been through it myself, right? I'm just like, "Okay, who am I as a grieving daughter?" In your case, a grieving sister, a
Mhm.
grieving daughter as well. Okay, what does that look like? What lights me up now, right? And these might not be immediate
Yeah.
questions, right? This might take some time to get
Yeah.
there. But like, what do I wanna do for work? Am I really happy in this work
Mhm.
that I'm doing?
Mhm.
Am I, because I'm
Mhm.
realizing now, huh, life's a lot shorter than I maybe thought it was. Is there anything
Yeah.
else I wanna do differently? Do I wanna move somewhere else? Do I like,
Yeah.
all of those things. Really
Yeah. And I think it's just acknowledging like how far, like I think sometimes we feel like there has to be a big epiphany or something. But
oh,
like
it's a
if you've made it a few months like without your loved one and you're still like somewhat getting out of bed each day and like you're doing it. It doesn't have to look like this beautiful Instagrammable moment all the time. It just can be like, oh my God, it's been 4 months without them and I'm still here.
doing the
Like
damn
acknowledging
thing.
that. Yeah, it's huge because that is like all I can do some
Yeah.
days is, and I have poured, like, I do feel like I'm finding that balance. Like, some days I'm so sad, but then I'll get in front of a client, and it is healthy sometimes to go into my coach
Yeah, it's kinda
self and
cathartic,
just,
like
yeah, and suddenly not like have it consume
yeah,
my whole entire brain. And I still like am like, I don't think it's like someone will say they've lost their mom. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
yeah.
Like, my brain goes, I can't imagine what
It's
that's
just
like.
like,
And then I'm
"Oh, wait a
like,
second,
oh
unfortunately, I
wait,
do."
yeah. Yeah, like, it's still, I think my brain's still catching up with the
Yeah.
reality, and I noticed, like, the other thing I've had to work really hard on, and it's gonna be, I think, a journey, is, I remember when my dad at first didn't answer his phone,
Ugh.
like, had like, you know, those, like, or, like, someone goes downtown and, like, I have to not be like, "Oh my," like, and I travel on my own a bit and stuff, and so it's just having to keep having faith and trusting and not feel like, "Oh, what's happened to my mum and my sister," and now, like, all of these things,
Gonna
so
happen
it's,
again, and the other shoe's bound to
yeah,
drop, like, when's it gonna drop? And living in that, like, hypervigilance,
yeah.
it's like, oh yeah.
But it's like I go into town and sometimes, you know, I am tearing up or I get shaky. Like my nervous system was shot
Of
out for
course.
like a good few weeks of just shaking randomly and going into shock again. But I refuse to let fear run my
Mhm.
life, because I spent so much living, you know, I felt like I'd created this beautiful, like, have you heard of the shattered vase
Yeah,
theory?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, but like, you know, I'd recreated from the pieces. I could never go back to who I was, but
Yeah,
this new thing.
yeah.
And now it feels like someone's gonna just shatter it all over again. And it's like you have to like, you know, work on rebuilding that. But I'm not gonna lose sight of now as much like the passion and the vibrancy of my sister. And now I just want to bring in like the courage and kindness of my mom and build that together. But you know, it is cliche. I know they'd want me to keep moving forward.
Mhm.
At the same time, I know my mum knew how hard and painful grief was, so I know she'd also be okay with me just
Just
crying
keep
into her
going
pillow.
and, like,
Yeah.
yeah, take
Yeah, like, I know she
you.
would not rush me
No.
because she would still tear up, you know,
There's
understandably, anytime she spoke of Nicole, and
yeah. Oh
so
my god, how could you not? Oh my
yeah.
god. Kate, you have been through so much this year, just in general, but again, I just have to reiterate what you have created, continue to create the new ways that this is transforming and taking on new forms for you. It is such, as a bystander, it is such a joy to watch. You truly are so inspiring. I have no doubt everyone here listening got something out of this conversation today, whether they have been through the same losses in terms of like the same loved ones that you have lost. But I just want to thank you for your time today. And if people want to connect with you, learn more about you, you're speaking, you also have a podcast, your book, all the things. Where can people find you?
Oh, well, thank you so much again for having me back on and holding space
Of
for so
course.
much trauma and grief with such
What I
love and
do.
grace. I love, yeah, I love, it's amazing what you do in the world for so many people who need this support, even just to know they're not alone in those ugly moments. So thank you. So yeah, if you're interested in learning more, my website's kategladden.com. On there you will find more info about, yeah, my keynote speaking, my coaching, my book, Okay Now What? How to Be Resilient When Life Gets Tough. And Instagram, I'm super active on there. It's at Kate Gladden. So if you have any questions, feedback, anything, I always love reading and responding to messages. So reach out on there. And oh, yeah, my podcast by Sadie Nane is Okay Now What? So you'll find that on all your usual podcast platforms.
Amazing. I love it. You're everywhere and nowhere at once.
You can't get rid of me. I'll pop up somewhere.
I love it so much. Kate, thank you again for your time today. I so appreciated connecting with you again. Thank you again, truly, for having this.
Okay, let's not have to re-record this again though. So
Oh God, watch this.
please, life.
God, knocking on wood
you.
immediately. Oh,
no.
Lord, no, but sure.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tara.
You're welcome. Thank you. I am sending you a huge thank you for tuning into today's episode, my friend. Visit lossesbecomegains.com for my blog, more coping tools, ways to work with me, and so much more. And be sure you're following along on Instagram and Facebook at Losses Become Gains, and on Instagram and TikTok at Life with Grief Podcast. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and share this episode or this podcast with someone who could use it too. I'll catch you in the next episode.